I'm Dara, and I'm a stasher. I've been a crafter all my life, and I've maintained a moderate stash until a few years ago when I suddenly gave myself permission to buy yarn, fabric, junk journal supplies, even before I had plans to use them. And that's when all hell broke loose, and now I have quite a large stash. I have a junk journal stash, a knitting stash, a sewing stash, a scrapbooking stash, and now more recently, a quilting stash. So here are my top 10 true confessions on what I think are the dark side of stashing. Number 1, a stash takes up a lot of space. It's a luxury to have that space, and it's a luxury to have a large stash, but sometimes my stash makes me feel quite hemmed in. 2, a stash needs to stay organized, and I find that sometimes I spend precious crafting time on organizing my stash instead of doing the craft that I have those supplies for. Number 3, sometimes I forget what I have, and I've a few times ended up buying the same thing twice or more of the same thing. 4, my stash gets messy. If I'm looking for something specific, I will be digging through it, and then I often don't put everything back so that it's tidy and I can find things again. 5, sometimes my stash saddens me. When I'm going through organizing it or looking for something and I come across some items that past me bought to make something and I never actually got it made, I feel sad that that loss of excitement and that loss of the finish never happened. 6, my circumstances can change. So something that happened to me is I wasn't able to knit for a while, and I had I still have this big yarn stash that I thought might be sitting there indefinitely. Luckily, I've been able to resume knitting to a certain extent, and so I'm hopeful that I will be able to use my stash. But there was a time there where that was a hard feeling to see that stash there and know that I wasn't able to use it. 7, I find that for me, my big stash creates a sense of urgency that I have to get going and get these projects going because they're all stacked up in my cupboards in the basement, and they're just kind of this material, this yarn, this fabric is going to waste if I'm not getting it used up. And really, crafting shouldn't be about any kind of urgency. It should be about fulfillment and expression and a feeling of relaxation and feeling good about what I'm making. For me, that's what I want out of crafting. 8, a lot of the things can go out of style. Does anybody remember eyelash yarn? I've inherited 3 stashes of 3 other knitters, friends and mothers of friends, and some of the yarn in that stash is so old that I can't think that anybody would want to wear those colors. Having a stash that I think I might never get to, for me, I feel there's a risk of that yarn, that fabric going out of style. 9, I feel guilty sometimes when I see the size of my stash, guilty about the money that I spent, the time it takes me to maintain it, the space it takes up. And really, again, crafting for me, I don't want it to be about guilt. I want it to be about feeling good. Lastly, 10, when I'm going through my stash and I'm reminded of how big it is, I put myself on a diet. So no more yarn, no more fabric, no more junk journaling supplies until, you know, I've worked some of this down. And then subsequently, when I'm out, something's on sale, or I see, you know, something that attracts me, I think, I can't have that. I feel like I'm not going to be able to get that because I have too much at home already. So in a way, having a big stash is robbing my future self of the excitement of buying. Those are my reflections on having a big stash and my mixed feelings, because plenty of time I enjoy having that big stash, and plenty of time it has saved me from, you know, not being able to make something that I wanted to make right now. Thank you for listening to me about my stashing. It has made me feel a lot better to have my true confessions out there to other crafters. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.